You're now listening to Hispanics Causing Panic, baby. Let's do this.
But right now, Hispanics are causing panic. Right now, Hispanics are causing panic. Yeah, Hispanics are causing panic.
Strategic move that Eddie is making for AJ. Why are you not thinking, let's get him set up for kind of animal?
That was years and years and years ago. Like, Clarissa is a way different fighter from when she was back in.
Thanks to those joining me live and to those that will be joining me on our
defenses that she's had to have recently. You know, she's pulled people.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the RoundTable about tribalism. I don't think tribalism is necessarily bad. I just don't think it has to be.
I don't know what he think he sees or what he think he know. But he going to the hospital, bro. Like, bro, you not winning that fight.
You guys mentioned, I think, D-Style, you mentioned him versus Regis Program. I'd love, that sounds like a...
Old, I don't need you, you know, and PBC and others, in my opinion, it's like, oh, this is my guy. Like, there's a relationship.
Flat out, it's tough, and we call box, and we go to the end of the round, and then...
That would say, what do you mean by acting black? That's a fair question, but a participant of trash talk knows...
And they're announcing a fight 3-4 months from now. And he ain't going to fight. I bet you anything. He's not going to fight somebody as good as John Wright. Thanks to those joining us live. Those will be joining us on the archive. D-Style here. But joined by the one and only Joe Habib from Ringside Reporter. Check out the 200th episode. 200th episode next week on Ringside Reporter Live. That is a channel, and we'll see you there next week. We got Baze, Danny, Gail will be back. Some others will be back. It's going to be a great show. We have a great show for you this week as well. Not much of a round table at the moment. I did mess up and gave people the wrong time, but it's okay. They'll be on momentarily.
Can you tell the truth? Tell the truth why no one's here.
Because I gave them the wrong time.
Because Gail kicked the shit out of everyone last week, and everyone's hiding right now. She fucking schooled the whole panel last week, and everyone just ran for the hills.
Is that what it is? All right.
I'm wearing a diaper this week, man. She made me shit my pants.
So we're going to have some people come on momentarily. Mario Munguia. We got some other people, Roberto Diaz and Michael Montero. They'll be joining us on this roundtable episode 199. You know, since we have a moment here, Joe Habib, who has missed only 2 roundtable shows.
Zero roundtables. It wasn't called the roundtable back then.
I missed 10.
It was called Leave It in the Ring. There's some Leave It in the Ring.
Well, look,
rigmarole type name it was. Those were the official roundtables.
The show was started as a Leave It in the Ring roundtable.
It wasn't the roundtable.
To get everybody that was involved with that, you know, on a roundtable show. But it's still the same show. As
soon as I signed my contract to become a full-time host, I never used a sick day.
Never used a sick day. Okay.
Never used a sick day. Never used a PTO day. Never took a vacation day. I went on a date and I told her we're only eating dinner. We're having no dessert. I got to go back to the round table for the second hour, and that was that. I told her.
Okay, but there was 2 shows early on that you missed, but it's okay.
They weren't official roundtable shows.
Boxing for Life Berlanga selling this fight. I appreciate the support, brother. Much appreciated. We're definitely going to talk about that now. Joe B, 200 episodes. It's next week. Not to put you on the spot, it's very impromptu, but tell me like a moment that comes to mind, like some of your favorite moments, like the last 199 shows.
When Sutter Kane and Maestro were going at it, that was fucking hilarious.
Oh, is that with a gun? Like the
whole thing with Maestro, yeah.
Yeah.
Maestro doesn't like when I bring that up, but I every now and then I bring it up, but let him know.
Well, that was interesting, for sure. You know what I mean? A lot of great guests that we've had. I mean, we're talking, I've counted them, 91 guests, not counting you and I, of course, but 91 guests. And if you do the math, it's almost like 1,200 topics that we talked about on the show. That is amazing. All right.
We had Divine Sense on here, and everyone kept ganging up on him, and I had to pull everyone off him.
Well, I wasn't ganging up on him, but you did pull off some people off of him for sure.
I had to pull off him, man. The guy was an invited guest, and everyone just jumped all over the kid, man. I had to defend his honor a little bit, man.
Well, there you go. You know what I mean? That is interesting. What a run to show. Shit, we might just end it at 200 shows. You know what I mean? Go out with a bang. So it's what I think. But
can we see if we can get Chris Carlson on here for the 200th show?
I mean, look, everyone is welcome to come on the show. It's a matter if they want to do it or not. Plenty of people don't know, but I invite plenty of people to come on the show. The reality is a lot of people don't want to come on the show. If whoever wants to come on can come on. Like, it's just as simple as that, right?
We can have them sign a waiver to let them know that we won't harass them during the show.
Yeah, like we're supposed to do like a waiver, kind of like when a boxer's going to fight a fan and they have them sign a waiver. You know what I mean? Or with MMA fighter, they ask him like, hey, can you choke me out? Like, hey, look at the camera and say you're not going to sue me after this or whatever. But it just is what it is. In all seriousness, we do invite as many people as possible. We want different opinions. I think that there's a problem, in my opinion, Joe. A lot of a lot of echo chambers out there. Too many people want to be around people that they agree with, which I understand to a certain degree, but that's not the spirit of this show, and not in my opinion. So the reason Joe's here is because I always disagree with him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's why he's here. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Leonard Ellerbie, Calix for the 200th show. That's what they want, Leonard Ellerbie on the 200th show. I don't think Leonard Ellerbie would come on, but it is what it is. Flaca was on the show a couple of times, and now she's with ESPN. She don't come on the show no more. Like, you know what I mean?
I miss her, man.
She forgot about us. You know,
I miss her so much, man.
People want Dante's Boxing Nation. You know what I mean?
That guy would never come on here, man.
Like, it is. Look, people will be surprised who we've had on. I mean, it is what it is. You'll be surprised who's agreed,
Let's bring Rick Glacier back on here, man. That guy's hilarious.
I don't think Glacier's ever been on the roundtable.
He's been on HCP before, though.
But yes, he has. But he I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be against him being on, but he's not going to like difference of opinions. I'll tell you that.
That guy gets mad.
What are you going to do? The moment you ask him for, like, well, how do you know? Like, he's going to get mad. It is what it is. But shout out to Chauncey Pearls and all that. Let's proceed here. Oh yeah, I was going to give you your flowers. You've been on more roundtable shows than everybody else, right?
I've been on every single one, man.
He says he's been on every single one. I don't know about that one, but I have missed 10 roundtable shows. 10, right? So there you go. Alex, people want Ali Setback on the show. Hey, well, we're all for it. We've had fighters on the show. We've had managers on the show. We've had matchmakers on the show. We've had promoters on the show.
Can I ask you this question?
Sure.
Have I been on every roundtable that I've been invited to be on? Those other two, you didn't ask me to be on those other two, because that was when I don't remember. That was when it was leaving in the ring, and you didn't have an original format. back then you were the only regular back then, and then you decided you were going to have like a regular staff. And once you decided once this was the original official roundtable where it was me, you, Maestro, and G Funky as original guests. Once we made that commitment, since we made that commitment, I've never missed a show. Since this was officially
I didn't word it as you missed shows. I said you were not on 2 shows.
But those weren't the original roundtables. Those were leaving in the ring roundtables.
It is what it is, man. I don't know.
I don't want you to tarnish my record, man.
But it's all good. Samson, you want to get Samson on a Twitter show? Like you know, let's get on there.
That guy drives me crazy. I mean, I don't know, man. That guy just drives me crazy.
That's why we need him on. Imagine the ratings, like Beeb and Samson going at it. You know what I mean? Like imagine that just for a second. You know what I mean? But hey, let's get this started. You know, I want like to Conceicao Foster. Okay, you and I kind of agree on this a little bit. Like, I felt like that Foster won, but I was very surprised at the reaction online with people saying it was like a robbery, and they were saying that Conceicao didn't win a round, and I can see, like, I scored at 7-5 for Shakur Foster.
That's what I had it.
Yeah, like I thought it was a lot closer.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Now, do I think Shakur Foster won? Yes. You know what I mean? I do. But I was very surprised at the reaction. And I like the rematch. I think it's a good rematch. It's going to happen November 2nd. What do you think of the fight? And how do you see if you want to elaborate on how you saw that first fight?
Well, the thing was, and this is just me being biased. Whenever you have fighters, and I've said this to you 1,000 times, fighters who fight in spurts, they always leave the round open to interpretation, right? Then it comes down to when a judge or someone's just watching that fight, what do you like? Because when you're fighting spurts, you in that spurt, you have to do something dynamic for me in order to win the round. So if you're being outworked and you don't land anything dynamic, whereas you're not staggering somebody, you're not buckling somebody, you're not getting somebody in trouble where it looks like they're going to go, but then they end up fighting their way out of it, then it's hard for me to give you the round. Like, so there's a lot of guys out there that fight in spurts. Lomachenko does it. Even Canelo does it. That's why a lot of people, you'll see some people will say, oh, when the Golovkin fights, they think Golovkin won. Some people think Lara won. Even some people think Trout won. Because again, you have to weigh what was more significant in the round, that spurt or the consistency of the other fighter, right? So that's the thing. So when you have a style like Shakur Foster, he has he's going to be in a situation where there's going to be other fights like this where they're going to be close, right? And there's going to be probably more split decision wins or more split decision losses based on the way he fights, right? This isn't the first time that he was behind in a fight, right? And he had to come back and pull it out. Which in this case, I thought he pulled it out, and I thought he came back later in the fight and pulled it out. But apparently, not two of the judges disagreed with me. So sometimes he gets off to a slow start. Sometimes because he fights in spurts, he leaves the round open to interpretation, and then it comes down to what do you like, right? So that's the way I look at it. I do think that he was a little bit reserved in this fight with Conceicao the first time out, and there were times where I thought that he got Conceicao's attention, but he never followed up, with multiple shots. It was one and done on a lot of occasions, and I don't think that was enough for him to say, I ran away with this, which is what him and a lot of fans said. I don't think he ran away with it.
Yeah. And you know, it's one of those things like you can argue you won the fight because I believe he won the fight.
Yeah, I thought he won the fight.
But you can argue that without exaggerating and saying, "Oh yeah, I won 12-0. I pitched a shutout."
Yeah.
It's
Oh yeah.
because at that point it's like, okay, now you're kind of overdoing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Shout out to Nadim, aka NBT Boxing, the old school dude with the Australian $30. Much appreciated. I appreciate the support. Jeff Horn over everybody. All right. Did you know that Nadim is the only person on this planet that believed in Jeff Horn when he fought Manny Pacquiao? Did you know that? Have you given him his credit?
I haven't.
You know, he was telling everybody, oh, he's going to beat Manny Pacquiao. Everybody laughed at him. Everybody made fun of him. And then when Jeff Horn got his arm raised, no one gave him his credit. You know, so
I scored that fight a draw, actually. Thought that fight was close, too.
I thought that was a really close fight. And it's not crazy to give it to Jeff Horn.
And then Teddy Atlas was going off. I thought that was ridiculous. I just scored the fight, Ted. Well, I had Pacquiao winning, but I had 2 even rounds. It's like, bro, so what if those even rounds go the other way, man?
Yeah, he had it really close. He had like 2 or 3 even rounds, and he has the audacity to, at the biggest moment of his career, he just has a win over Pacquiao, and he looks at him and says, "You didn't win this fight." Who the fuck are you, brother? You know what I mean?
It was ridiculous, bro.
Hey, remember, like you went off on Teddy Atlas in the very first roundtable?
Yeah, I don't like him.
You had like a 5-minute rant, like "fuck you, Teddy
respect
Atlas."
him. I respect him for what he's done. Like he's trained a lot of good guys. He's been in the sport for a long time. I just think he's a little bit too performative in there. He's tries to go over the top a lot, tries to sensationalize things, overstate things, and I don't know. He just goes a little overboard. And I don't like these guys that are always trying to sell themselves as being unbiased when clearly there are guys that you don't really like. Let's just be honest. There are guys you don't like there.
Hey, brother, how you doing, brother? How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Help me out here a little bit. What do you want to be addressed as? Like what?
Pavic.
What is that?
Pavic. Bhavik. Pavic.
Pavic?
Yeah, that's how you pronounce it.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. I just wanted to. I don't want to
No, it's all
start
good.
saying it wrong or something, you know. So it is what it is. Hey, thank you for coming on the roundtable.
No problem.
What do you think of? We're talking about Shockey Foster against Conceicao rematch.
Shouldn't even need it. To be honest, it was such a clear. That is a robbery. You know what I'm talking about? Close fights versus robberies, like especially during the whole Virgil Ortiz fight. That is a close fight. That was a robbery. And that's probably one of the worst robberies that I've seen. I'm talking about who's the guy that fought on the PBC show? It was the Southpaw guy. I forgot. It was a really tall dude. It was welterweight guy. I keep forgetting his name. Something with the F.
Oh,
him. Yes,
Fox.
him.
Fox. Yeah.
This is the worst robbery I think I have seen.
That one was bad. I agree with that.
That one was bad. Yeah.
Now I might be over because don't watch every single fight in boxing. It's kind of hard, but like the one I have seen, that shot fight was probably the worst rob. And I still watched it after the fact because I was kind of drinking while watching because I was out on 4th of July weekend. I was like, this is the perfect time to put Shakur out because now I'm busy weekend. Although I'm surprised the rating it did. That's a different story. But I watched it again and I was like, how on earth can you give this guy it was almost clear to me.
How did you score it? Like how did you score round wise? Like 9-3, 10-2. Do you remember?
I think I had 10-2 for shot.
But look, I mean that's how you scored it. Most people agree with you, right? So it's I you might think I'm crazy. I scored 6-5 for Foster. I mean 7-5 for Foster.
Yeah, I had a 7-5 for Foster too.
But I still had
honest,
Foster winning. Right, but it's
not Foster winning. I just didn't think it was 10-2, 7-3. But I mean, again, it's your scorecard. It's
I'll probably watch
a win's a win. A win's a win.
I thought he won definitively, but at the end of the day, I mean, look, they're gonna get the rematch. I think he's gonna. I think Shock's gonna beat him. And
yeah, I would pick Shock. I would pick Shock in the rematch.
So do I.
Yeah.
Let's put Joe Beeb over here like he's on Ringside Reporter. There we go. He's got that Ringside Reporter look. You know what I mean? With the,
right.
You know. So let's talk about Shakur Stevenson. Bobby, you brought him up. So he injured his hand. Obviously, it came out. I'm going to be very blunt right now, and I'm going to be very matter of fact about it. But moving forward, I made a decision that if a fighter goes out of their way to say they don't care about the fans and fuck the fans, and then to me, it's fuck you too. Like that's just me, right? So I just don't like. Let me be honest with you. I'm not like I don't wish anything bad on him or nothing like that. But I'm not losing sleep over not seeing the Cordina fight. Like I'm good that we're not getting that fight. I don't care about that fight. I never cared about that fight, but that's my opinion. You know, so Bavik, what was your reaction when you heard about the injured hand, and then where do you kind of do you think this is like an indication of what's to come with Shakur? I mean, is he a brittle hand guy? Is this going to be a problem he's going to have moving forward? What do you think?
Definitely he's going to have a problem because he doesn't already throw that many punches to begin with, and he's not the biggest power puncher. So I think this will be a problem. To be honest, I was not interested at all. Like, I understand the same structure that they had for the June 1st fight, which a lot of people have brought up, for it being pay-per-view. But the difference is, Wilder Zhang, I paid no problem, because that one was somewhat exciting. I mean, it was exciting, or just because it's the allure of what one punch can change it, and it did. Like, Shakur Stevenson versus a guy who got, because just 2 years ago, that would have been a big fight at 130 pounds. Remember when Cordina knocked out, who the hell did he knock out? The Japanese guy, Ogawa, that's who. He knocked him out, and then Shakur beat Valdez. It was like a month before. So that would have been the perfect time to do that fight. But then Shakur obviously misses weight and all that stuff. Like,
right.
Now having the, I mean, to be honest, I'm not interested in it. Unless he's fighting Zepeda, Tank, Loma, Haney, like any one of those guys, I don't care. Like, I'm not losing sleep over this guy. Like, that's for, I mean, in fact, it might help me to go to sleep if I'm struggling with sleep.
Did you get a chance to check the back and forth with Hearn and Ellerbie about the potential Tank Shakur fight?
I didn't. To be honest, okay.
So,
sorry, I didn't know if he was going first or not. That's my bad. But all I just saw was a picture of them just taking at the grand arrivals, because it was like, it was 22. I remember when 22 was like right after Tank fought somebody in May, and then he was threatening he would fight Eddie Hearn. I'm just like, no, you will not. You will not do anything, and Hearn will not fight this guy either. It's just posturing by the two of them to try to sound tough.
Okay, sounds good. Joe Beeb, did he get a chance to watch that exchange with Ellerbie and Hearn? And do you think that's any indication that fight might happen? And what is your reaction? What was your just real-time reaction to finding out Shakur had an injured hand?
We heard about him having injuries in the past. The Edwin De Los Santos fight, they said he had a hand problem. And I think Bob also said there was something wrong with his shoulder or something also in that fight. So there's been some issues with injuries for a little while now in recent fights. So I wasn't too surprised, but I said to myself, this is probably something that's been lingering maybe, and he didn't get it fixed right away. And maybe he said at this point, it's to the point where it's bothering me so much. Maybe he tried to rehab it. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if do you know exactly what the injury was? I just heard it was something wrong with his hand.
I did hear about a ligament. I did hear
so,
that.
Okay. So usually sometimes when it's a ligament, a lot of times they try to rehab it first before they get the surgery, and then kind of do the debridement or whatever they have to do. If the ligament's torn, then sometimes they just go in there and take out the loose pieces of the ligament, do like what's called the debridement. So that's probably what they did. But I'm sure they may have tried to rehab it at first and it didn't work. So then he opted to get the surgery. But I don't want to throw shade on Shakur, but I didn't care about that fight with Cordina, and not a huge fan of Shakur. Like I'm in the same boat as you. I don't, when someone tells me that they don't care what they don't value me as a fan, then there's no really incentive for me to watch you. Like I'll watch him, but I'm not going to go out of my way to watch him. I'm not going to go out of my way to root for the guy. I'm not going to go out of my way to support the guy. I'm not going to hate on the guy, but unless he's in a big fight, I'm really not going to get excited about it. And have a feeling when Lomachenko comes back next year, he'll probably take a tune-up fight, and I think Tank will be next, and maybe Shakur can get the winner of that. But again, I don't think anyone is going to be rushing to fight Shakur Stevenson because as a fighter, and again, I know Gail doesn't like this, but if you're William Zepeda, if you're Tank Davis, if you're Lomachenko, what's the upside? Because you can make more money fighting somebody else, and win, lose, or draw, you run the risk of this not being an entertaining fight, and you run the risk of people not really being interested in it because there is a lot of negative opinions out there of Shakur Stevenson because of the way he fights. And not only that, there's a lot of negative opinions of Shakur Stevenson because of the way he talks to the fans. So again, with respect, I'm not disappointed this fight's not happening. I hope he hope he recovers. I hope he comes back and everything's okay. But like I said, I'm not running to the television set because Shakur Stevenson's fighting.
For sure. Shout out to Roberto Diaz. How's it going, brother?
I'm good. How's everybody?
We're glad to have you on. I actually I gave everybody the wrong time, by the way, but it's all good.
Tried to sabotage you, man. He tried to sabotage you.
Nah.
I had to make sure he got you on, man.
And then Montero told me he's having issues with the link, so I gotta send that to him now. But I want to talk about this no limit outbids Top Rank for the Janibek fight with Andrei Mikhailovich. I don't even know if I pronounced it right, by only $1,000. And I don't know if Janibek will honor this fight or not. If they're going to move it forward. But Robert, I want to ask you this: like you as a matchmaker, did you have any like input or involvement ever, like with purse bids or anything like that?
Absolutely. And it is very rare to see an outcome of $1,000 make the difference. Obviously, if you're no limits, you feel great to have won by only 1,000, meaning you didn't overpay, especially with a promoter like Top Rank who has so much experience. On the other side, for Top Rank, they're probably like, oh man, we lost it by 1,000. So, but whenever you lose or win, you hope to be very close. It's really bad when you see a promoter win a purse bid, but they're overbidding so much. It's either inexperience or just the fact that they really want to have that fight and stage it.
Okay, man. Michael Montero, how's it going, brother?
Good, man. Thank you for having me on, guys. Sorry I'm late. I had to help my wife put the girls down. She takes one, I take the other. We switch back and forth. So I just ran down here as quick as I could to the studio. Thank you for having me.
Well, sure, man. You're more welcome to be here, of course. And Beeb was like 10 minutes late. So you're not that late. You're not
always on time.
Beeb's always late. He's always late. Come on.
Please. Michael, the no limit outbid Top Rank for the Janibek Andrei fight by only $1,000. Mm-hmm. This is crazy. First of all, what's your reaction to that? But also, do you think Janibek will honor this fight? You think he'll go through with it, or do you think? Because I've been hearing that they might do the fight. I've been hearing he might move up. Like, what do you suspect?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know enough about the situation to give a detailed assessment. I'll say this, just on the surface. The amount that Top Rank bid lets me know pretty much what they value Janibek at commercially, right? The fact that No Limit was able to outbid them by $1,000 to get this, that's pretty telling. At the same time, Alam Kanala has 2 belts at 160. What is there for him at 168? This is free money. Have you guys seen this dude's resume? his resume is a bunch of guys at the level that I have fought. And I'm not trying to say that disrespectfully. It's just the reality. It's a bunch of 0-star and 1-star opponents. And so Alan Canelo is going to be heavily favored here. Yes, the deck will be stacked against him with the judges and all of that, but I think he'll leave the judges out of it. This is free food. Honestly, this is free food. This is free money. Take it, defend your titles, stay at 60, try to clean that division out. It's middleweight's dead. It's absolutely dead. Try to clean it out, because at 68, it's Canelo and nobody else, and Canelo's not going to fight you. That's the reality.
Man. Jobib, $1,000. So that's it. And do you think this fight will happen?
I think it will, because Janibek needs a fight, right? He doesn't want to stay inactive. He's the type of guy, I get the sense, that likes to keep busy. And because he doesn't, he obviously makes a decent living boxing, but he's not making what some of these other guys are making. So can he afford to take long periods of time off, given the amount of money he makes? So I do think the fight will happen. I think Mike made some great points about 168. But if he's having problems making 160, because we saw what happened the last time, then he may have to move up to 168. But again, does he get the fights with Munguia? Does he get the fights with Pacheco? Does he get the fights with Canelo? I'm not sure anyone's going to be banging down the door to fight this guy, because of the old risk-reward type scenario that we always have in the sport of boxing. So I think he'll probably try to make weight a couple more fights. I think he'll take this fight, and I'm not sure how long he can stay down here, because if it's going to be a safety issue, then obviously he's going to have to do something about that. So,
Bavik, what do you make of the first bet? And do you think he should take this fight? Do you think he should move up? What do you think?
I think he should take the fight, because he's not a big name. The value that he has is in the belts. And the thing with him was I don't know if it was a weight thing, or because that Las Vegas heat, what I've heard, that was a really bad week. Could that have played a part? I don't know. But I do know that he trains in LA, because he trains at the gym Mario Lopez trains at Brick House. And Mario said the guy's there almost all the time. So it's not like he blew up in weight. I think the cut, if it's a weight thing, that means the cut is more and more difficult for the guy. So if he can't make it safely, then he should move up. But if he can make it, I think he should take 116. The fight that I think I want to see at 160 is him and who's the guy who's fighting on the
Shiraz.
Yes, thank you.
Shiraz is good.
Yes,
Yeah.
Him I like, because to be honest, middleweight has been so bad since Danny Jacobs and Triple G era. The biggest fight we had since those that did involve those three guys was Shiraz and Ammo Williams.
Yeah,
and that's two. I mean, it was a good fight for two guys at that level. You're trying to send to the, but that's how dead the weight class has been. We have a guy coming off a 2-year layoff who's 140 and a 47-pound champion fighting for a middleweight title this week. And I mean, I'll watch because I like Danny. I grew up watching Danny, so I'm gonna watch it. But I mean, the weight class is really bad. Janibek can clean it out, and then I mean. Adames is also injured, according to Shiraz. He said they wanted to get to fight Adames, but he's injured too, so that's another issue on its own.
So the way I see it, I've heard rumors that maybe they'll put it as a doubleheader for the PBC card with Tim Zhu and perhaps, but I believe the reason No Limit put up the money for it, No Limit has a contract over there with Fox Sports Australia, and they need to fill up dates. So for them, this is actually like a pretty decent main event for one of their cards. So it may be over there. And for Adamek, to be honest with you, it's a good way to open yourself up to a new market over there in Australia, quite frankly. You might create a fan base over there or add to your fan base or whatever it is. But I do think the fight will happen, and it's crazy that it was just $1,000, but it is what it is. So let's go ahead and proceed here. I want to start off with the co-main of Saturday night. It's a fight that I'm not particularly too fond of. It's whatever to me, but I want to know what you guys think, and I do want to know who you think will win. Michael Montero, we'll start with you. Danny Garcia versus Erislandy Lara for the middleweight championship of the world. You know what I mean? Let's do it. Who's going to win this one? And what do you think of this fight? Just be brutally honest.
Okay, well, that's what I do, right? Guys, what I'm about to say, I want to preface. This isn't me trying to be controversial or anything like that. I just cannot get interested in this card. Every fight on this card is either a complete mismatch or it's just there's zero impact on any real division.
No significance.
There's no significance.
No significance in any of these fights.
It's just a bunch of fights that they threw together, and they're doing the Mexican versus Puerto Rico thing that hasn't been a rivalry for 15 years or 20 years. If it was Mexico versus Japan, Inoue versus Neri when they fought, I was watching that shit live. But this, and Berlanga is a Yankee. He's not even a Puerto Rican. He's a Yankee, right? So anyway, that's the main event. All right, we'll get to that. The co-main. Danny Garcia has fought once since 2020. Let me repeat that. Once since 2020. He has had one fight north of 147. That was at 54 against an unranked opponent who had moved up in weight as well. Now he's fighting for a world title at 160. Somehow the WBA moved him up and he's number 10 in the rankings. Uncle Al must have slipped some ducats under the table. You know how that works. I like Danny Garcia. I've enjoyed watching him. I think Lara has become more entertaining later in his career as his reflexes have slowed down. I've talked to a lot of guys who have sparred Lara, and he does have a mentality now where he'll sit down in the pocket and fight more. So action-wise, this could maybe steal the show on the whole card. But the fact that this is for a world title at 160 is just insane. And let me tell you guys this. I've talked to several of my betting dudes who run some gambling operations out there, and they're telling me that this is a setup for Lara to get robbed. If this fight is close on the cards, I'm just putting it out there. If it's close on the cards, Danny Garcia is going to get the decision. There's business. Other PBC fighters, Charlo, that you could have a fight at 160 for that belt later on. So I'm just of all the fights on this card to look at, this is the one for me where it's like there might be some shenanigans here. If it's close, I think Garcia gets the nod.
Okay, Robert, Roberto, talk to us. What do you think of this fight? And what are your thoughts about it being for a middleweight title?
I mean, in today's world, it doesn't surprise me how many champions are out there, who's the champion, and how easier it is now to be a champion. But respectfully, these two guys are of that level. Danny shouldn't be fighting at 160. Obviously, he wouldn't be if traditionally he's getting the opportunity. What he's saying, hey, a shot at being a 3-division world champion, why not? I know both of them very well. I worked many of their fights on both of them when they were both with Golden Boy. Stylistically, look, one thing about Danny and his dad, they never turned down fights. They were very good as a matchmaker. They would fight anybody I put in, and he would find a way to win. He has that will to win. I don't know if he still has it. Obviously, he's up in age. His advantage is right now that Lara's no spring chicken. He's a lot older, but I think like Michael said, he hasn't fought. He hasn't been active. It's a new division. He is fighting with a guy who's been in the division, but not only that, stylistically, what does Danny have to do? Come forward, look for the fight, look for the championship. And that's the perfect style for Lara, who's a great counterpuncher. And what's made Lara now a little bit more sitting on his punches and getting a couple knockouts here and there is the legs aren't there anymore. So I think that will help make for an exciting fight. The will that Danny has to find a way to win. Look, when he fought Matisse, he got hurt and he started backing up but he found a way to win. When he was fighting Amir Khan, he was getting busted up in the first few rounds, couldn't deal with the speed. As people say sometimes, he closed his eyes and landed the hook. He finds a way to win. I have to favor Lara because of the division, because of the size, and because he's a great counterpuncher. If Danny can somehow not go 100% forward and maybe try to, it may make it for a boring fight, but stay at a mid or outside, maybe he has a better chance. But I have to favor Lara in a close decision.
All right. Bavik, talk to us from a fan's perspective. What do you think of this fight, and what do you make of it being like for not only on the Coleman but being for a world title?
Oh, world title! I mean, WBA antics. That really doesn't surprise me at all. But in terms of the fight, honestly, if it wasn't for the world title, I would like it more. It's just the fact that both guys are older. And let's not forget, Danny's been around. He's been around, ironically, since September 14, 2013. Obviously, he's been around longer, but I'm talking about he's fought since all the way deep back then. He's been in big fights since back then. But both guys have been, I mean, not both guys, sorry. Lara has been active. He fought once this year. Didn't he fight sometime? No, he didn't fight 22. He fought once this year already, so at least he has one fight this year. Sorry, my brain is not thinking dates. I don't know why. So he has one fight this year, so that'll definitely play a part. I think that activity, when it comes to being late in the fight, Lara's going to take over. So I don't think Danny's getting knocked out. Danny's chin is, outside of Canelo and Triple G, I think the best chin of this era, outside of Canelo and Triple G, is Danny Garcia. That man's chin is like made of iron. I don't think he's getting knocked out. It's definitely not my Lara. He's not getting. But maybe someone like Jamal Charlo, if he was right, could maybe drop him, but I don't see it by Lara. I have Lara by unanimous decision, like probably like an 8-4 decision, because that ring rust is going to take like round 6 through like 10 to 12. That's where Lara is going to start taking over the fight.
All right, Joe, what do you make of the fight? And do you kind of share that sentiment? Like, if this wasn't for a world title, just a fight that they're making, would you enjoy more?
You know, the thing about it is, I would say it doesn't matter, but the thing about, because the fight is what the fight is, but when you look at it, you have to ask yourself, why is Danny Garcia getting a shot at the middleweight title? He's never fought in the division before, and he's been off for so long. So when you look at it that way, it kind of makes you say to yourself, you know, I think when you do put that component in there, it makes the fight kind of farcical because it's for the title, but it doesn't take away from the two styles together, how they would mesh. I still think, because Danny likes to come forward and, you know, Erislandy Lara is the counterpuncher, I think the fight itself has the recipe to be entertaining, and there is a bit of intrigue to it because you got a guy who's coming off a long layoff, and you got another guy in Lara. You're asking yourself, at any time, can this be the end for him? Can he hit that wall, right? Now, he has slowed down a bit, you know, he doesn't move as much, but he still is fast twitchy, right? He still has a little bit of that explosiveness to him, still has the timing, still a very crafty guy. And you got a guy like Danny who likes to throw those loop-in shots, and then you got Erislandy Lara who can thread the needle right down the middle. So I actually think, because of the way Erislandy Lara has been fighting, and when he wants to, and when he does sit down on his punches, which he has been doing as of late, he can get guys out of there. So I actually believe that he's going to stop Danny. I think Danny's, you know, been off for a while. And again, I don't know this for sure, but I get the sense that maybe Danny's not as hungry as he once was. Maybe he's taking this fight because he's, you know, he's a little bored. He's got that itch. But that, you know, I do think that there was some demons that he was dealing with, and I do think he had some questions about whether or not I want to do this again. And this may be the litmus test for him to say, hey, this is going to make me decide if I'm in this and I want to continue to do this or not. This is a make or break type fight for Danny to kind of tell him where he's going to go in the future. So I do think that Erislandy Lara, because of the way he's fighting, because I think he's a sharp puncher, because He's such a clean, accurate puncher. And I do think that he has some pop. I think he can stop Danny.
All right. I do like the possibility of him knocking out Danny Garcia. That's something similar to what Montero said, and I was talking to Joe Beeb earlier on the phone. I said, Lara, his footwork was so good at one point that he maybe in his mind, I felt he fought very negative at times, but he basically he was just like twinkle toes in there. He had really good footwork, would use the ring a lot, like very Cuban, school of boxing. But now, since he's older and he's not, he's not as agile as he used to be, it's almost forcing him to do what I felt he should have done years ago, which is sit on his punches more, shoot that right hand down the pipe. And I think Lara has one of the most lethal straight lefts in the boxing business, and he's kind of forced to use it more now, and it's making him actually like shock dudes a little more when he lands it. So, and I think in this weight class he needs to sit on the punches, and I think Danny Garcia, obviously he's not a middleweight and he's small and stuff, but I'm going to go for the straight over the loop anytime. I think the straight left of Lara is going to light up Danny Garcia, and I do think he's going to get stopped. I think Lara wins this fight by knockout. That's how I see it. Go ahead, Montero.
I was just going to add two things. Lara has really long arms. Like he has middleweight length arms.
He does.
I talked earlier about guys I know who have sparred him here in Atlanta where I live that have sparred with him. And they said, dude, that guy's arms are like a heavyweight. Danny Garcia has T-Rex arms.
Yeah.
That could play a factor in this fight.
Danny leans in a lot.
Forward, and he leans in a lot.
Leans in a lot.
The second point is, going back 15, 20 years, guys, this would be an ESPN Friday Night Fights type of matchup between two former champions that are having one last shot at glory.
Most of the card would.
Okay, babe, you said it. I'll stop.
I don't want to be disrespectful.
I'll stop right there. It's not disrespectful at all. It just shows where we're at in the game right now.
It does.
It's the truth. It's just the truth.
But I'll still watch it.
Well, there you go. Dave from the Shoe Shine. How's it going, brother? You're muted. There you are. Dave, talk to us. Danny Garcia, Erislandy Lara, who's going to win. And just in general, what do you think about this fight? Like it being for a title, like Danny getting a shot. It's I believe, at a catchweight for middleweight belt. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I believe it's a catchweight at 157. I saw Danny at the media day workouts yesterday. He looked in great spirits. And personally, I'm rooting for the guy to do something spectacular. There's been a history of guys moving up. First of all, Danny, all accolades, he was a champion at 140, 147. But historically, guys who've moved up from welterweight to face a big villainous middleweight, Kell Brook, that didn't pan out well. It didn't work out for Amir Khan when he fought Canelo Alvarez. It did work out for Miguel Cotto, another Puerto Rican, right? It worked out for him quite well when he faced Sergio Maravilla Martinez, who was over 40. But his legs were completely shot. And make no mistake about it, Lara's not a shot fighter. He actually looks like he's gotten stronger as he's gotten older. And his legs, while they're not the same legs probably that was in the ring with Canelo, he's going to have more than enough movement. As you guys mentioned, his long reach, his activity. He's been getting knockouts and stoppages late in his career. And Danny's been sitting on the sidelines for almost 2 years. I just cannot fathom that Danny Garcia is going to pull off an upset, move up 2 weight classes, and pull off the unthinkable. Now, it'd be a great, great storyline. It'd be great for his legacy. It'd be rather remarkable. It'd be something amazing. But because of that inactivity, the long layoff, and the WBA giving guys like that an opportunity for a title fight after 2 years off, it just reeks. The whole ranking system for the WBA reeks. I don't like that part. I do like the fight. I do like the fact that it's 2 older world champions, but I don't think Danny Garcia can pull it off. I do have Lara winning this fight by either late stoppage or decision.
All right. I want to go ahead and just kind of in general talk about this event, and just think like in general talk about like Las Vegas that weekend. Okay, it's basically, I mean, if you're in Las Vegas, it's going to be like the atmosphere, I'm sure, is going to be great just in general in that city. Because you have Canelo Alvarez fighting, you got UFC Noche, right, with like no Mexican fighters in the main event. Is what it is. And you got, it's whatever, but nonetheless, I mean, the Sphere's going to be hot, T-Mobile, everything. How successful do you think the pay-per-view is going to do going head to head with the UFC Sphere? Dave, you're in Las Vegas. I'm sure you're getting some sense of what's going on in the city right now.
Yeah.
Talk to us. Is this going to be a successful event despite the competition with UFC and Turk Al Sheikh's money behind it and the Sphere behind it and everything? How is Canelo going to do here?
Well, I'll give you a direct correlation. Last Cinco de Mayo, when I think, last Cinco de Mayo, the media day workout and the grand arrivals had far less people. So if that's any indication that people are from Mexico or, people that enjoy this luxury experience coming to Vegas, that they're coming an extra 2 days early to take part of the festivities, I think that's a tremendously good sign. Then you take into account that the UFC event is supposedly also sold out already, even if it's a secondary ticket. It looks like it's going to be a fantastic night. I'm actually going to go downtown Friday night to they're going to have a lot of Mexican Independence Day events, and I'll really be able to gauge how many people are here in town. What I did not hear much of, again, on Tuesday and Wednesday are the Boricuas. Where are the Puerto Ricanos? I don't know if the Puerto Ricanos are going to show up for Edgar Berlanga, but make no mistake about it, there's already a palpable vibe going on in the city, and I think it's going to be better than expected. As far as pay-per-view sales, that's a whole different thing. The hotels can give you numbers and say our occupancy rates are fantastic for this weekend. Where people are spending at the bar, people are gambling. That doesn't correlate to pay-per-view sales at all. So as far as pay-per-view sales, this thing might be kind of a flop. It's not that exciting of a card. It's not something that I would justify spending $89.99 on my personal money to. But again, that don't mean nothing because this is Las Vegas. It's the fight capital of the world, and people are here to party, celebrate, gamble, and enjoy life.
Bobik, how do you think this paper is going to do, given the fact that it's not a very popular card even amongst boxing fans, but not only that, it's going head to head with the UFC?
The demographics are different. There's very little crossover in between the UFC fans. A large portion of the UFC fans are not Mexican fans. I'm going to put it that way. There's very little crossover. I'm honestly an exception. I barely watch the UFC. I only watch the big name cards. And then Canelo has built up a strong base. So I think pay-per-view wise, I think it might do about even, or the UFC might do a little bit better. Just because the thing is, the UFC card, except for the main event, it's not really that good. And this card, I'm not even going to get started. It's a terrible card. But the UFC card, the main event's the only one I'm interested in. Let's not forget, Merab has a cut somewhere right around here that that none of us would have known until he decided to post it. For reasons I can't explain to you, Moron decided to post of his cut that he got. And then on top of it, he's using scissors that I think are from the drawer to cut the stitches. Now, I don't know if any of you guys are know anyone who's a doctor or whatnot. I know a lot of doctors, and I will tell you this one. They will tell you that makes no damn sense. You're supposed to clean and sanitize all these kind of things that you're using to cut stitches and all those things. So the main event's probably already going to have a problem right there. So I think that hurt the UFC pay-per-view a little bit. But I think it'll be even. To be honest, I think it'll be right around even because Canelo is a brand himself. Berlanga's been shit-talking. So this helps because if this was Munguia's, Munguia's very reserved. He was reserved the whole build-up. If this was Munguia type of personality with Berlanga's skill, this would have been get it out of here. This wouldn't have done really bad. But because Berlanga's been talking a lot of shit, I think that that sells more pay-per-views. I mean, Tank Ryan, they talked so much shit, and how many it did over 1 million. Versus Spence Crawford was the better overall fight, which even though it was a one-sided fight, we all agreed in terms of pure boxing, it's the best fight last year. Which one did better? I mean, shit talking sells. Berlanga's been doing that. Canelo's been responding to him, and when Canelo shit talks, it's funny. So I think it'll do even.
Okay.
I think I ramble too much, but either.
All right. You're all good, brother. Hey, Michael Montero, talk to us. How do you foresee? Is it going to be a success, a flop, somewhere in the middle? How do you think this event's going to do? Given what you've already kind of touched on the card and the main event, and then it's going up against the UFC.
Well, I've been talking to some of my dudes at the casino, and they say that the casino is promoting the event. So there is promotion in the city for the event. Now, as far as Amazon promoting, that's really not happening. So, as Dave alluded to, the live gate versus the pay-per-view, that's two very different things. I don't know shit about UFC. I'm just going to put it out there. I don't know shit about it, but I've talked to some of my UFC dudes, and they say that card isn't so great either. So what I've heard is this is basically two lackluster cards. There's some names, but no impactful, meaningful fights on either one. That's what I've heard. Again, I might be wrong about the UFC card. That's just what I've been told, okay, by UFC fans. So in terms of the pay-per-view, you have to kind of look at the demos, and this is something Bavik alluded to. The demographics are different. I think that there's a lot more Mexican-American households that are going to buy the Canelo card. Mexican-American restaurants, bars, they're going to buy the Canelo card. There's a lot more overall restaurants and bars in middle America that are going to buy the UFC card. So it's going to balance maybe. There's going to be more commercial buys on the UFC side. There's going to be more residential buys on the boxing side this weekend. But looking at Canelo's track record over the last decade, it would not surprise me if this event was his weakest pay-per-view in the last decade, honestly, because it's again, I'm not saying this to be disrespectful, but listen, Canelo has carried the sport post-pandemic. He's carried the sport. I respect that. He's got my vote. First ballot Hall of Fame. He's got my vote. He's in. It's a lock. Okay. But at this stage of his career, he's in the Floyd Mayweather stage of his career. Okay. He's earned that. I have no problem with it, but it's the legitimate truth. That's where he's at right now. He's not going to fight the Bivol winner. He's not going to fight Benavidez. Maybe if Benavidez comes back down to 68 after fighting at 75 a couple times and they could drain him, maybe, but probably not. So being at this stage, again, a lot of Mexican-American households, restaurants, bars are going to buy it because it's Canelo. But this isn't Canelo Munguia, where you had Mexican versus Mexican. You had indigenous mestizo Mexican versus Caucasian Mexican. You had a lot of elements to that fight that you could market. This is a Yankee, Puerto Rican heritage Yankee American going up against a Mexican. It just doesn't have the same sales factor. I actually think domestically on pay-per-view, it's not going to do that well compared to what we're used to seeing with Canelo. And all the guys, just pay attention to this, all the guys in the media in recent years who could not wait to report Canelo's pay-per-view numbers are going to be real silent when it comes to reporting these numbers. You know who I'm talking about. They're going to, those guys before, they were jerking off. They couldn't wait to report the pay-per-view numbers 48 hours after the pay-per-view, right? It's going to take a few weeks to get numbers out of these dudes. I'm just telling you right now.
Glacier will have the numbers like 10 minutes after the fight.
Hey, you said that, Beeb, not me. But I will say this. There are different revenue streams that Canelo brings more so than any other fighter in the sport. Foreign TV money and things like that will come in on the back end that will probably save the promotion here. But domestically in America, they're not going to sell enough pay-per-views to cover the purses. They're just not. It's not going to happen. On the back end, they'll cover it.
Let me ask you this quick follow-up. Is what this, like, you're saying it's going to be a flop domestically, pay-per-view wise, right?
I don't know if I want to use the word flop. It's going to be disappointing compared to what we're used to with Canelo.
So let's stay with that.
To be a letdown.
It's going to be a letdown, let's just say, right? Or whatever you want to label it. Would it still have been a letdown even if there was no UFC event?
Yes. Yeah. You listen, football's back. Football just started last week. College football is going. College football now. Listen, Vegas is a football town now. They have a pro football team. College football is a big deal. All the sports books are big on it. Football's back. I'm telling you, dude, the economy's shit. The dollar's lost over 20% the last few years. There's a lot of factors here. I just, again, unless Canelo's fighting their Peter BF Bivol winner or David Benavidez, I don't know if he breaks through with any of these shows, guys. That's just where we're at right now.
All right. Joe B, how do you think this event's going to do? And do you think UFC Noche whether you think it does great or not, does it have any impact on this event?
I don't think it does, because they're the ones that lowered the prices. They're the ones that pushed the event back a couple hours. They're the ones that are making the adjustments. They're the ones that seem to be scrambling here. And everybody that's involved in this PBC event, I'm seeing smiles all around. Like people, I'm seeing Berlanga and Canelo doing a lot of promotion, doing a lot of interviews, going on a lot of podcasts, just putting themselves out there. And Canelo is just like in a different stage of his career, like Mike said. But he's like on Sway on the Morning. He's been on the Breakfast Club a couple of times. Like he's just talking to everybody. He's on Tom Brady's podcast. Like he's talking to everybody, and he seems to really, really be enjoying himself, right? So I think they did a good job promoting this fight, right? The fighters themselves, like the TikTok shorts, YouTube shorts, everything, right? I think this fight's going to do 500,000 pay-per-view buys. I really do. And I think the UFC probably do maybe 400,000 pay-per-view buys because of the time that it's on, and because it's not a great card. Both cards aren't great, but I think Canelo's a bigger name than Sugar Sean O'Malley, with all due respect. So and again, Berlanga is doing a good job talking some trash here. So I think this is going to be a pretty decent event. If I'm being honest, I think it's going to be a decent event.
Man, so some people in the chat talking about 800,000 buys, and man, like it's crazy. Well, it'll be something. Roberto Diaz, you've worked with Canelo before. You know how the Mexican people love him, and I'm sure it's not a surprise to you that even Dana White's kind of like that, like oh no, we respect Canelo. We're going to celebrate Canelo. He said on that night, we're going to celebrate him. Like they're going to feature him at some point. He said, right? How do you think this event's going to do? Like relative to Canelo, we're comparing Canelo to Canelo, right? Like how do you think, is this going to be a successful event in your opinion?
Well, I'm first of all, I'm very happy that it went up against the UFC. Not necessarily against the UFC, but that he didn't change the date for the UFC. This is his date.
Good point.
This is a boxing date, Mayo and September. Last year, what happened, he couldn't fight on this date because the UFC had put in the date first. And by the time he requested the date, or the promotion requested the date, the commission said, no, we could only have one. This year, he takes the date, Dana talks, gets the date as well. Everybody thought maybe they would have changed the date. I'm glad that boxing, obviously as a fan of boxing, not of UFC, stood up. And now I think next year, they'll think twice of going against Canelo, because I don't think it'll be as successful, because they're going to go up against Canelo. And like you guys said earlier, they've lowered the prices. They changed the hour. Hey, guess what? That's giving boxing or Canelo the respect that he deserves at this particular point in his career. So that to me is a win. As far as the fight and how it does, you guys will be surprised. And even I'm surprised right now. And the match with Munguia, I thought it was a closer match than what we have against Berlanga, right? However, the vibe that I'm getting right now, and people calling me and everybody I know trying to get tickets and more tickets and shit, I got to be there, is much more than we felt in the Munguia fight. Okay, so Berlanga has done an amazing job and great job. I just hope he backs it up coming into the fight and does really what he's been saying. He seems very calm, very relaxed, very confident. He doesn't seem like, scared of the lights. He's doing what he's supposed to, and how he's looking. I'm expecting a hell of a fight, and I think it does better than the Munguia fight now. I wouldn't have said this before, but I think we're feeling the vibe right now. I think it will do better number wise, and we're not dividing Mexico. We have all Mexico now with Canelo, but now you're adding a little bit extra with some Puerto Ricans. I think they'll show up last minute, and come fight night, the best thing that we can get, even if it's 5 rounds, is 5 rounds of hell, and that'll give Berlanga tomorrow a lot of respect, a much bigger fan base, and much more experience, regardless of the outcome. But he needs to come and fight.
We have 85 people watching. If you guys can hit the like button and share this on social media, I definitely appreciate it. Here's what I want to say. I actually said on the roundtable a couple weeks ago, I believe this is going to do better numbers. And to me, like, all the shit talking for Berlanga is like whatever to me, and this is very anecdotal, but I'm getting people from my job asking me, like, hey, this guy, the way he's talking to Canelo, like, he's like, what's up? Like, is he that good or what? Right? But nobody was asking about the Munguia fight. They were asking about De La Hoya, but look, De La Hoya acting like an ex-jealous girlfriend because Canelo left him 4 years ago is not going to help sell a fight. Like, that's because De La Hoya is not getting in the ring with Canelo. Munguia is, right? Oh, he got an argument with his former promoter. Like, that's not going to make people fork out money. Like, I didn't want to watch the fight, but now I really got to buy it. No. However, Berlanga is going to fight Canelo. And there is a little bit of like, okay, is this guy like, even if it's, to me, it's a mismatch, but obviously, but I could see people saying to themselves, well, I kind of want to see that dude eat his words, right? And there is a little bit of that feeling to a certain degree. I actually do think that, and now I'm even more confident that this fight is going to outperform the Munguia fight in pay-per-views. I feel that way. And the correlation is, well, more often than not, when the gate does better and the vibe is better in the city, then it's better everywhere else, right? It internalizes everywhere else. So because that speaks to demand, and that speaks to people being curious about the event. Also, the fact that he's having the audacity to go up against the UFC, when we had boxing fans saying, don't do it, you don't want to do that. Yet it's been the UFC that moved their date 2 hours after. I saw a main event from Australia. They're putting on both events, and they're telling people, you get to watch both, because UFC will start 2 hours afterwards, right? Dana White's not dumb. If Dana White knew, okay, I could slaughter this dude, right? If I just go head to head with him, he would do it. There's obviously something he's seen, right? There's some type of numbers he's seen, some algorithm, something he's seen that's making him kind of take a step back and saying, okay, it's better for us if we don't go head to head. And I believe it'll be better for both, but there's an obvious reason for that. And there's always an obvious reason why Dana White's not taking the Turki Al-Sheikh route or the Petty De La Hoya route, and he's instead saying, look, we're not competing with Canelo. I like Canelo. I respect Canelo. That night is about celebrating all Mexican fighters and what they've done for combat sports. I mean, we're going to feature Canelo, right? So obviously he wants some Canelo fans to tune in as well, right? Which brings me, like, to me, it's like the opposite of what happened. If you guys remember when Canelo and Kovalev had to wait for the UFC main event because DAZN wanted more subscribers from UFC fans. And now that's what's happening here, to like kind of in reverse, right? But bring me to this, Roberto, since we have you on. I don't know how much, like, do you remember that when they made Kovalev and Canelo wait?
I was pissed off. Because it was a last minute thing. They spun it on us last minute. This was obviously a DAZN thing. We were in the office with the break. Fans were upset in the arena. Imagine the fans at home. Then you had fighters upset, Canelo in a couch and Kovalev in a couch with gloves on, waiting. So that was a disrespect of and at the time, the zone not understanding really boxing's different. The fans they shouldn't have to pay. Let's go. But today, you're right. It's a little bit of the opposite. And I think boxing took its place of saying, wait a minute, we deserve some respect too, and the fighters and the fans. So I'm glad there wasn't a change, and I'm glad that Canelo stuck to this date, because as long as he still fights, May and September are his dates.
Yeah, I just remember that, and I remember thinking to myself, you're new to boxing, you want to sell this sport to people and for people to subscribe to you, and you're kind of hurting your own brand here. Like you're kind of
100%. 100%.
Till this day, there's UFC fans that bring that up as if like it proved anything. Like, oh, see, they made Canelo wait because they're so much bigger, and that's the narrative they created because they wanted a couple more subscribers.
That was, honestly, you guys are all making great points, and you're kind of converting me here. I'm changing my mind slightly about this fight now. I'm still not interested. I'm not watching it live, but I'll probably catch a replay Sunday. But we all know Canelo's going to win. It's just a matter of how. Could it go the distance? Could it look like the Charlo fight? Could Berlanga get popped and then get defensive and kind of show up and be, he's shown he could do that. He's been dropped before and he was able to do that, win a fight. Or could it look like the Munguia fight where it's fairly entertaining? But Canelo hasn't had a knockout in 5 fights. You got to go back 6 fights before he had a knockout. So the question is, does this go the distance or can he stop him? But I don't know, dude. You guys are convincing me with the whole thing in Vegas, with the vibe in the city and everything. Look, Canelo more than any other fighter, I'm going to say in boxing or UFC, is that breakthrough superstar that really transcends fight sports. And this is his weekend, right? To Roberto's point, this is his date. So, all that being said, I just can't see this cracking 500,000 pay-per-view buys. I just can't. I'd love to be proven wrong because it'd be great for boxing. I'd love for this thing to crack 1 million pay-per-view buys or something
though?
And surprise us.
Like if this fight does well, then what's the incentive to fight tougher opposition?
If this fight does well, then it shows that Canelo can still carry a pay-per-view card on his own. Because let's be real, he's the only name on this card. And he's carrying this entire show himself. And you bring up the DAZN thing. Look, DAZN was out of their depth. They did not know what the hell they were doing. They're starting to learn a little bit. PBC, say what you will about the issues that promotion has. They know boxing. They know boxing fans. And they're promoting this thing the right way to the right people. So I give them that credit here. They're not going to make the mistakes DAZN has made. They've already proven that. So if this does well, it just shows that Canelo is still very, very viable. Let's say, Eric, it does better than the Munguia fight, okay? Which I think it has a chance to do. We still don't know the numbers of the Munguia fight. They're not going to tell us, right? But if it does do better than that, then it's a build, right? Because that was on the new promotion, the new platform, that Munguia fight. Now this is the second one for Canelo on the new platform. There's a build. We got something we can build on. So that's a positive. So I'm hoping for the sake of boxing that you're right, that this thing does better than Munguia and it breaks through a little bit on social media and all that stuff. That would be awesome. That really, really would.
For sure. Now let's talk about the actual fight. Berlanga versus is going to be challenging Canelo it's no longer for undisputed because the IBF stripped Canelo, but at least we're not getting Skull versus Canelo this weekend. This Roberto, is this going the distance, and what type of fight do you see here? Boring fight, violent fight? What do you see?
Well, I mean, again, Berlanga, I really look when a young fighter is really in that first big fight, and you can't get bigger than being an opposite corner of Canelo. So I think Berlanga, I really look when a young fighter is really in that first big fight, and you can't get bigger than being an opposite corner of Canelo. So I think Berlanga, I really look when a young fighter is really in that first big fight, and you can't get bigger than being an opposite corner of Canelo. I like what I see. I like what I see. I mean, obviously, I'm with Canelo. I've been with Canelo, but I like what I see. How he's carried himself. It seems that there is no respect, and for a young fighter that really believes he can do it, that's really important to believe you can do it. Now, what happens the first time he gets popped? He's never faced anybody of this level, not even close. The first time he feels the real power, does he go into a shell? Does he turn into survival mode? Or does he really say, you know what? Because I believe he really thinks his power is more than triple G's, more than I really believe he thinks he can, knock Canelo out. And for him to even say, I'm knocking him out in 6 rounds, oh shit. Well, I just hope he comes out and says, my best chance is to go and try to knock this guy out. Because regardless, if we get 3 rounds, 4 rounds, 5 rounds of entertainment, of somebody just going for the knockout, Canelo's a great counterpuncher. He invites these guys that come for the knockout, Kirkland, Angulo, those kind of fighters that come to knock him out, get knocked out. We haven't seen a knockout in a long time, but I think this is the guy that all of a sudden people are like, oh shit, Canelo's back, or it takes 2 to tango. And if he comes out, I think Canelo knocks him out. I like the 5th round.
5th round knockout. Okay. All right. Joe Habib, talk to us.
I actually think the fight goes a distance. I think Canelo will win a decision here. Mike was talking about this with Eric and myself a couple weeks ago on the Ringside Reporter podcast. And Canelo's at a different stage of his career right now. It was a similar situation to Manny Pacquiao when he went that string of fights when he wasn't stopping guys. It's just a different mentality when you get older. And Mike said it perfectly. It's like you're looking to the next fight. You don't want to overextend yourself. You're looking out for your body more so because you're more injury prone. And again, you're winding down the years, and now it's just about getting the win right now, right? You already have the name. You've already have the accolades. You're already walking into the Hall of Fame. Now you're just trying to just complete the legacy and just ride it out to the finish line. And that's what I think is going to happen. And I do think, like Charlo, I think if Berlanga gets hit and he gets hurt, I do believe he'll become less aggressive. We've seen him do that in fights, like Mike said. He'll go on his back foot a little bit and just kind of circle. Once he knows he can't get you out of there, the mentality changes. Really does. So, and that's not a knock to say that, questioning his character or his mentality or anything. It's just something that just kicks in with some fighters. Once they realize they can't get you out of there, then they just make that adjustment and they say, you know what? Let's just try to fight this fight on the outside a little bit, not get too close to the stove here, so we don't get burnt.
And I'm going to ask the chat as well. Distance decision. Does somebody out there think Berlanga's going to pull it off? Let us know. Bavik, how is this fight going to play out?
Canelo 5 to 8 more round.
Brother, you're sounding very, very choppy.
Can you hear me?
That's very choppy. Gordon, if you can exit, come back in, and I'll let you go when you come back in. Michael Montero.
Yeah, so I think it was Mars Boseo in the chat said the over-under is 8.5. I think that might be the best bet on this card, at least in the main event, is to bet the over. As me and Beeb talked about a couple weeks ago on the Ringside Reporter show, I think that at this stage of Canelo's career, look, maybe there is something down the road, like next Cinco de Mayo. Maybe it's Conor McGregor. Maybe it's Terrence Crawford. Who knows? Maybe there's something in the works. I was ringside when he fought Chavez, and everyone thought, oh, man, he's going to flatten Chavez. He's going to walk right through this guy. And I couldn't say on the record, but I knew several weeks before it was announced that Triple G was going to be in town. He was going to drive up from Vegas or fly in from Vegas and do an announcement there. That fight was basically a commercial for the Triple G fight. And I told myself, he ain't going to risk a damn thing. He's going to go in there and spar with this dude and win 12-0, 120, 108, and preserve his body and get rounds in for the Triple G fight. So part of me wonders if that might happen here. Honestly, it comes down to Berlanga. It's on him. If he presses the action, if he comes forward and he tries to hurt Canelo, he's going to get chopped up and stopped. If he gets defensive, if he stays on the back foot, I can see this going the distance. It's certainly doing the over. So I would bet the over on this. I think that's a safe bet. I'd love to be proven wrong. I will say this, and then I'll shut up. This promotion in particular, PBC, I don't want to be negative. I don't mean this in a negative way. I mean this, it kind of sounds underhanded, but in a positive way. They are very good at manipulating fans with smoke and mirrors type of matchups like this, where you can make a guy look like he's kind of back and he's fresh and he's young again by getting a knockout win. There are thousands of examples I could bring up in the last 10, 15 years. Maybe this is that kind of matchup where Canelo gets in there and gets a knockout, and it gets people interested in a different fight down the road. This promotion's very good at that sort of thing. So I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Bavik.
I think Canelo's going to stop him around 7, 8, somewhere around there. Because Berlanga, I think, the guys who talk a lot, Canelo's, just look what he did to Billy Joe Saunders. I just watched that fight recently. That's why I'm bringing up that example. He broke that dude's face. And probably one of the that uppercut is honestly a thing of beauty. That is sweet science on its. I don't even know. Like, that's sweet science right there. That's enough. But the reason is because Berlanga's been talking, and this is when he's going to throw. I think Canelo's going to catch him. Because one thing Canelo's very good at is timing, because he's very active, and counterpunching. I think outside of maybe Crawford, I think he's the best counterpuncher in the game. And of this era, he's the number one guy since Mayweather. Because Pacquiao wasn't much of a counterpuncher. It was Canelo. It was like Mayweather, Marquez, and then on to Canelo. In terms of counterpunching, Robert can speak to this because he's seen it often. Like, I think he's going to catch him either with an uppercut or a right hook over the top. I think it was the right hand that Coceres caught Berlanga, right?
Yep.
So I think it's going to be
chopping right hand. Yeah.
Chopping. Right? I think it's something like that because Berlanga is going to get over aggressive. He's going to try to prove a point. He's going to get over aggressive. He's going to let the crowd get to him because he doesn't have the experience at this level. Because his when he was headlining, he was at the Hulu Theater in New York, and I went to one of his fights, and it was a very good crowd. For the Hulu Theater, he did a very good number, and those were his fans. Now, these are not going to be his fans, I'll tell you that much. They'll be saying a lot of things, probably in Spanish and English. There'll be some curses that I don't know much Spanish, but I know they're going to be saying some words that you're going to try.
Puto, puñeta, cabrón.
They're going to say some shit.
Yeah.
And Berlanga being young, he's a few years older than me. He's just going to, because he doesn't have the experience, he's going to get caught up with it. And he's going to open himself up. And then Canelo's going to flatten him with an uppercut or a right hand. I'm just telling you right now, it's going to be either right uppercut or left uppercut to the head or right hook.
Dave, how's this one playing out?
You know, they have such a stark contrast in their professional and amateur careers. You have Canelo, who turned professional at 15. Meanwhile, you have Berlanga, who had nearly 200 amateur fights, and in his first 16 professional fights, he only went one round. So I have never seen Edgar Berlanga make the type of adjustments or indicate that he has the IQ that Canelo keeps talking about in his press conferences this week to indicate that he's really going to be a problem for Canelo. I really feel that Berlanga's best chance is to leave on his shield and put on a great performance as far as entertaining the crowd. One of the things that stuck with me in the interview with Sway, if you guys heard that interview where Canelo gave to Sway, he was asked point blank who was the hardest puncher, and he took everyone by surprise by saying it was James Kirkland. And when saying it was James Kirkland, he said that early in that fight, that probably in that first round, he recognized that Kirkland would hit so hard that things could get problematic if you let him keep hitting them. So he said, I've got to make a short night of today's work. So James Kirkland, he's, you know, if Berlanga's anywhere near a hard hitter as James Kirkland was, I can expect to see Canelo try to get him out early. And as most of you guys pointed out, the best chance for him to do is to execute some type of power punching. But that's also going to leave him open to those nasty counter punches of Canelo, the type that he landed on Jaime Munguia. So I can see this ending in 6-7 rounds very easily. The question to me is how healthy are Canelo's hands now that he's approaching mid-30s? He's talked about his hands recently being a problem. Are they really fully healed? Because if they're not really fully healed, then he may drop Edgar Berlanga twice. Edgar Berlanga's resilient. He's got good legs. He's showing good legs, and he may survive the distance. You just retreat and go the full distance. But I think Edgar Berlanga gets dropped at least twice and potentially stopped in the 7th round.
All right. Okay. Look. It's weird because I've been picking Canelo by knockout for the last 4 or 5 fights, right? So I just want to preface it by saying that, right? And it hasn't been happening. But I'm more confident about this one than the other ones, though, right? Berlanga's just nowhere near Canelo's league. Berlanga shouldn't even be here. This is a dude that is barely getting through advanced algebra, and they're gonna put him in. He has to pass a calculus test. That's pretty much what they're doing right now, right?
Quantum physics.
Yeah. He's got the quantum physics, and he's got 40. You got 30 minutes to do it, but he used to take an hour to do an algebra test, right? I mean, this is what's happening right now. I think it's going to be open. It's. I don't know, man. I just don't see how Canelo doesn't knock him out. And I hear what Montero's saying, what Joe Habib is saying, and the pattern shows that, by the way, obviously that he's going to go, that he's been going the distance. But what I will say is this, even against Munguia, he dropped Munguia, he hurt him several times, and I don't think Berlanga has the fortitude of Munguia. I don't think he's as good as Munguia. I don't think he has the punch resistance of Munguia. He doesn't have the stamina of Munguia. He's not as durable as Munguia. This is. I don't think he's as durable as Ryder. I don't think he's as good as Ryder. I don't think this dude could beat any of Canelo's last 5 opponents. Gildan might be the only dude that Berlanga might be able to beat out of Canelo's whole run at 168. I'm not sure he could beat Rocky Fielding. I'm not sure he could beat Callum Smith. I'm not sure he could beat Billy Joe Saunders. This is the easiest opponent in Yildirim that Canelo has had. This is the easiest opponent. He's going to be a sitting duck. Canelo's going to be landing at will, and that long torso of his is going to be lit up. It's going to be red and purple by the middle rounds. And I don't think, and another thing, he does it I've seen this dude bite somebody in the middle of a fight. When the going got tough, he bit a dude. That's all I need to know.
Right, yeah.
So what is he going to do when the going gets tough? Because you know it's going to get really tough, right? And another thing, I mean, is there anything he does better than Canelo? Anything, just anything. All he does better than Canelo is be taller.
And talk.
I don't think he's better at shit talking, Robert. I think Canelo's got a really good.
Canelo's a lot better at shit talking in Spanish.
Well, even in English, motherfucker, whatever it is, right? What I'm saying right now is that this is a mismatch of epic proportions. Canelo's gonna mess this dude up. I just wouldn't be shocked if Canelo ends it very early, quite frankly. Canelo might end it when he's not even trying to end it yet, right? I think it's more likely that Berlanga looks for the exit, right, than makes it to the exit, if that makes sense. I got Canelo winning this, and he will get that stoppage that we've been waiting for. That's what I believe happens in this fight.
Remember during the Ryder fight when we were making predictions for that, and I said it was gonna go the distance, and everyone was picking that for knockout. But the funny thing is, in Ryder's next fight, he gets stopped by Munguia. So obviously that doesn't mean anything in terms of Canelo and Munguia, comparing them to, but I just get the sense that Canelo he's just not pushing the envelope anymore. You know what I mean?
I completely agree with you, Beeb. I'm sorry, Roberto. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, all of you are making fantastic points, and it really could go either way. And again, I say it's up to Berlanga. If he presses the action, if he opens himself up, he will get countered. Class will show. Canelo is just a classier fighter. If he gets on that bike and he runs, I could see him going the distance. I really, really could. So it's up to him. We'll know in the first couple rounds what's going on. Neither scenario would surprise me. I could see either one.
Okay.
I'm just looking for, like, again, for the gamblers out there, Canelo winning, we all know he's going to win. But if you're betting, it's how is he going to win?
Right.
And the value might be in that over bet on the over under a distance fight. That might be where the value is betting wise. Okay. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, look, going the distance, the odds are really good. So if anything,
you can make some money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is, like, with Ryder, I was in Guadalajara, and some of Canelo's closest friends, because they hadn't heard of Ryder, they're not strictly boxing fans, they're Canelo friends. They asked me, hey, what round you think he'll knock him out? It's easy fight, right? And I said, no. This is going the distance. And the reason is this guy came up the hard way. He's really not been given anything. He's physically bigger, stronger, but he's very durable. And sure enough, he went the distance. Now, when I saw that Munguia was going to fight him, I thought it was pretty risky for Munguia, because if you're really close to getting that Canelo fight, Ryder's dangerous. But it worked out. He knocks him out. But I think it was more of the Canelo fight taking so much out of Ryder than Munguia knocking him out, because he was that power. It was the guy had no time to recuperate after that war and all the miles he had prior, that it was perfect timing for Munguia. And obviously that leading it into a Canelo fight, people were giving Munguia a chance. Oh, he's going to knock out Canelo. He's going to knock out Canelo. And look, he took him to school. I think Munguia is going to become a much better fighter now after this loss. And for Berlanga, if he goes on his back foot and tries to survive after the shit talking, and we've seen it, it's happened, it'll kill him in the future. If he goes out and gets knocked out in 3 or 4 rounds, 5 rounds, be it whatever round it is, but he goes 100% in there to win, there's the next phase for Puerto Rico, regardless of, obviously him being from New York, but the people will adopt him. Fans will be like, hey, you know what? You talk shit, but you know what? You back it up. And we respect that. And I think even as somebody in boxing, I would respect that. And if I was managing, promoting, whatever, it's like, let's just go in there and do our best, because you'll be appreciated more.
Hey, this has been a phenomenal show, guys. Look at the audience tuning in. Even though the best team in football, the Buffalo Bills, are playing right now, you guys are tuning in. I appreciate it.
Niners.
There you go. But I'm going to go enjoy my Bills, the rest of the Buffalo Bills game. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. See you guys next week for the 200th show. Much appreciated. This is
Congrats on 200. Congrats.
Congratulations. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Sure. Cool. Everybody enjoy the fights this weekend, and we'll see you next week. Keep it boxing. Peace.
Take care, guys. Thank you.